Shovel Knight Dig is finally here. I've been waiting for this game for 3 years. I played it way back in 2019 at PAX West and I was blown away. I wasn't even that big of a Shovel Knight fan at the time. I played the rest of the games after I played the demo. So we've been waiting a while, and now the big question becomes, was it worth the wait? Well, thanks to the kind team at Yacht Club Games, I've been playing it for about a week now, and I'm here to tell you. Yes, it was. What's up, guys? Joseph from Can't Pause here, the website that covers video games and video games news. And like I said, today we're talking Shovel Knight Dig. For those that need to be caught up, Shovel Knight Dig is a roguelite platformer where you play as the one and only, you guessed it, Shovel Knight. As the knight, you will dig through countless layers of earth in an effort to stop a group of baddies called the Hexcavators. And retrieve your missing bag of valuables. Along the way, you will encounter enemies of all shapes and sizes, vendors and adventurers who are willing to lend a helping hand, and bosses that will try their darndest to ensure you dig no further. In other words, you dig to fight and fight to dig. Now, before I get too deep in this video, I just want you to take one thing away. Shovel Knight is smart, arcadey fun. It sounds vague, it sounds generic, but that's my biggest takeaway. We're nearing the end of the year, and for whatever reason, my favorite games that I've played so far are also the ones that beat me down the hardest, both emotionally and physically. Whether it was the heavy themes, the grotesque enemies, or the brutal gameplay, a lot of times I would put the controller down just feeling exhausted. Shovel Knight Dig has come to flip that entire gameplay meta on its head. Yes, the game is challenging, trust me, I've attempted dozens upon dozens of runs, and I've still yet to beat the game, but even so, it feels like there's always an active effort to abstract, or better yet, distract the player from frustration. The gameplay is the perfect place to start. It's simple and self-explanatory. Alongside your movement controls, you have 3 buttons. 1 button to dig or attack, 1 button to jump, and 1 button to activate your special item. The simplicity in the controls helps a lot, because while later in the runs you start to need some quick thinking and fast reflexes, I often find my muscle memory taking over in the early stages of the game. It allows me to build up my confidence and focus in on what's happening on the screen. Now you'll quickly notice, even in the footage that I'm showing you, there are no tutorials. The game throws you right into the action. But that's not a mistake, because the levels themselves are the tutorials, and so are the friends we make along the way, or something like that. Even though each run is procedurally generated, every screen has a story. There are gems that are basically acting as your golden path in a way, telling you where to go. There are enemies that are positioned just in the right spots to be used as platforms, and there are cracks in the walls that basically indicate some secrets just to swing away from being uncovered. The design language comes together in a way that almost feels like reading a treasure map. It's not overly apparent, but you start to find the answers when you start to look closely. Is that how a treasure map works? I think. That's what I know from the movies. I don't know. Let's keep going. This game is just as much of a puzzler as it is a platformer, because you gotta think quick and react fast. And the faster you learn to crack the screen you find yourself on, the better you'll get at the game. As you get better at the game and progress to later levels, the challenges obviously start to turn up. The puzzles become a little more complex and the mechanics start to get really wonky. Kinda how Celeste started to turn its mechanics on its head in the late game, Shovel Knight Dig basically does the exact same thing. It's honestly been impressive to see how they leverage different mechanics and enemies to craft completely unique challenges themed to every level. After feeling like a master of that initial mushroom themed beginner level, boy, I was struggling on the fire level where all the coals are catching on fire. I'm also struggling on the water level where I have to platform on bubbles that also hurt me. Like, what is up with that? I could smack a bubble 50 million times and be all right. Why are bubbles doing damage to me? I digress. The point is, you are constantly on your toes anticipating what the next level has to throw at you. Now, I'm not gonna lie, as much as I like the gameplay, after a certain number of failed runs, things start to get frustrating. That's where the tone of the game comes in to kind of de-escalate the situation. In traditional Shovel Knight fashion, the game shoots for a lighthearted and goofy vibe that does its best to rid you of any frustrations you may be feeling. On the journey down, you'll find moments of peace when you locate a lantern that usually denotes an NPC is nearby to offer assistance. Sometimes it's a trap. That's pretty messed up, Yacht Club. I don't know what's up with that. When you do find the NPC, you'll have a chance to pick from a wide assortment of buffs. Sometimes it's heals, sometimes it's new weapons, sometimes it's new moves. What makes these interactions really great though is that you never know what personality you're gonna get. Sometimes you'll find the Move Master, who I feel like is always wearing 3D glasses for some reason. I don't know if I'm misreading the character design or what's going on there. Sometimes you'll find your trusty partner Shield Knight, or sometimes you might find this Ratatouille-esque mole who is ready to chef you up some health buffs. They are my favorite. The fun doesn't end with the friendly NPCs though. Situations where you end up in a boss fight with barely any health, which just happened to me a lot, become a little less stressful when you realize you're fighting this non-menacing cartoon character with a suite of comedic animations. And when I inevitably lose to said boss and go back to the surface, I end up forgetting about that loss anyways because I see how many cool, colorful characters have arrived at the campsite while I was gone. Cool, colorful characters? What? I'm Dr. Seuss over here? What is going on? That doesn't even rhyme. It's just alliterate. Moving on. There's something truly disarming about this game when everything comes together, and I welcome that vibe with open arms. Anytime I can get a chance to take a breather, smile, laugh in between legitimately challenging moments of gameplay, it's a win. It reminds me that I'm playing in the Shovel Knight universe. It reminds me that I'm spending time having fun, and it reminds me that the game has a unique identity that was crafted with humor and accessibility at the forefront. I understand, that sounds cliche, but I promise you, when you're playing Elden Ring and you're fighting this boss for the 100th time, you start to forget things like that. Now you guys didn't think I would skip over the music, did you? This soundtrack is fire. It was one of the first things I noticed on my very first run. It's the perfect blend of retro and modern that is just endlessly energizing. I don't know why I wrote that in there. Like, endlessly energizing. Who can say that? Say that 5 times fast. There's not much else that I can say that you can't hear for yourself. So let's take a moment to enjoy some of the sounds of the game. All right, so the video's coming to a close and there's been a lot of positive. So let's dive into the bad. Honestly, I don't really have much. I was racking my brain for critiques and honestly, I couldn't really come up with anything too critical. Just to be transparent, I haven't beaten the game yet. I could eventually decide that there's a lack of content, an unsatisfying ending, or a cheap final boss fight, but so far, my experience has been nothing short of golden. If I had to make one small critique, it would be that sometimes you'll find yourself in a position you can't recover from. So that can mean being stuck under the dirt with only spikes to jump to, not reacting to an unseen enemy in time so you take damage, or having nothing left to platform on, knowing that you're going to take damage. Maybe this is just a skill thing, maybe it's me, but it can be super deflating if it ends a super strong run early. The bright side is there's usually something to learn from your mistake, and that makes it easier to not repeat them in the future. So final thoughts. Shovel Knight Dig has been everything I hoped it would be. It's been a fun switch up from some of the more intense titles I've played this year, letting me get a little sweaty without feeling like the world is on the line. The level of polish and care put into what is essentially a spin-off of the main franchise is genuinely awesome to see, and I really do hope it gets the reception it deserves. Also, one more side note. I seriously think this would be the perfect arcade cabinet. The controls are simple, the objective is simple, the music is incredible, and the loop is addicting. Each failed run feels like it's about to transition me, to the classic continue screen with the countdown and hustle a couple more quarters out of me.
Don't you want a rematch?
And to be honest, I would pay up. Yacht Club, y'all gotta get on this. Now, if you're curious what my final review score for this game will be, keep an eye out for my final thoughts in the coming weeks on can'tpause.com. I'll not only be releasing my review score for this game there, but I'll also be previewing and spotlighting a handful of other indie games, as well as giving my opinion on some of the biggest news stories in the industry. This is a completely new style of video for me, and I hope to do more when I can. So if you enjoyed it, you have feedback, whatever, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you.